Hello and welcome to Jedi Journal. My name is Sadanako, and this is part 2 of our Kyber healing meditation series. So last week we talked about how this healing meditation came about and what its primary focus is. This week I want to cover who receives healing during these meditations. So the Kyber healing meditation gives participants an opportunity to connect with the spirit of a person that is open to being healed. There are two different types of these. One focuses on a specific person, and the other is a general version of the meditation. But they pretty much have the same function. The only real difference between these two is the name that you're going to be working with. So when we are doing a individual meditation, we know the name of the person that the request has been put out for. But in a general meditation, we have no idea what interpersonal spheres we're going to end up in. So let's start out with the specific person focus so you can get an idea of what I mean. When an individual beacon has been set, the force won't always carry you to the person that has been named in the beacon. Let me give you an example. Let's say that Obi-Wan asked us for a beacon for his apprentice, Anakin. So just because we are doing a meditation that helps Anakin doesn't mean that everyone's gonna end up with helping Anakin. So this is because Anakin's not necessarily the only person suffering. Obi-Wan is suffering. He's the one that asked for the whole thing. And I don't know, Ahsoka might be suffering because she's seeing this person, her person that she loves so much, going through a lot. So as a social species, just like this situation, there are many people who have emotional pain from watching their loved ones go through a crisis or, whatever. It helps to have someone there to comfort them just as much as that we have other people available to try and heal whatever pain Anakin's going through that's causing him to possibly turn to become Vader. So, going back to my cans of diced tomatoes, if there are 5 people present for a Kyber healing meditation, if I have 5 of these cans, we can spare a couple of those cans to go and comfort a family member and or a best friend overwhelmed with grief. So, this is also true of the generalized Kyber healing meditations. In these, you may or may not be called to a specific crisis, such as a hurricane, a tsunami, or a collapsed building. And in this, you are asked to heal people impacted by these events. Now, it could also just be general, like we just go in and we say you're getting carried to somebody, and whoever the force is calling you to, the force is calling you to. There's no specific crisis that we're working on. Nothing like homelessness, which is a broader one than, say, a hurricane, because that's, a worldwide problem. But, this is an opportunity for us to get on board and just do a healing event, and you will be carried to whomever. Not all of these people will be in the affected area either, if you are doing one that's specific to a crisis. Let me give you an example. So during Hurricane Katrina, I knew a soldier that was thrown into mental chaos, just trying to find his mom. She was in Louisiana when Katrina hit. So, this was actually way before any of the Kyber Beacon concept came about. But either way, like he was he was going through this. Him and his family were just, they couldn't think straight. His mother was somewhere in God knows where without signal to communicate with anybody. He himself was on the island of Oahu with me, and his brother was somewhere else with the Air Force, and his father was somewhere in Seattle. Now, his father was able to scramble out and get down to the affected area to look for his wife, while my friend on Oahu was stuck having to rely on anybody he could call to get them to mobilize as a small group of people to search for her in the affected area. So, that he was like, it was just crazy. So just as much as the people at ground zero that are impacted directly need someone helping them, so do people who can't do anything more but wait on news, or worse, discover that they've lost someone they loved. Fortunately, For this soldier, I will tell you that it was a good story. His mother was found safe and sound. So the Kyber healing meditations rely on the Force knowing where to take each participant, but it also relies on the participant trusting that the Force is carrying them to the person that they need to be with, which is just another lesson for each of us to learn. We cannot help everybody. And sometimes we're not suited to help the person we believe we're supposed to be assisting. A trained ophthalmologist who specifically does surgery on your eyes is not suited to perform an abdominal surgery. And an abdominal surgeon's not suited to do surgery on your eyes. So, there are different concerns for each of these types of surgeries, and these people need to have specialized training. They have to rely on the other person to deal with it, right? So just the same, a number of factors go into who we can and cannot help. Things like whether or not the person's receptive to the energy of another person. Maybe you guys just don't get along, or you would not get along if you knew each other. So might not be the best person for you to be attached to. You have to allow the Force to do that. We can't force healing onto another person. Another factor is whether or not your healing method, which we'll talk about in part 4, is compatible with the person in need of healing. Reasons they may not be is because of their religious background. Maybe their energy is like, no, I will not deal with somebody who does, I don't know, Reiki. But I will take someone that does prayer. Like, it's a thing. Or maybe there's some kind of trauma in their past that prevents them from being receptive to the type of healing you offer. And maybe that kind of healing is somebody that just gives hugs. I mean, we'll get into that later. But if they're not receptive to that, then you're not going to be carried there. So in this respect, we are relying on the Force to take us to the people whose spirit has consented to your spirit's presence. Ultimately, healing cannot take place if you're unwanted or untrained to heal the person's ailment. Thus, as Jedi involved in the Kyber healing meditation, we have to put our trust in the Force to carry us where we are needed and wanted, and also to sacrifice any ego that believes it knows what's best for our patient. Thank you for joining me as we work towards awakening the Jedi within.